Hi everyone. For everyone who's already seen it on Instagram, you'll already know that I've smashed the V10 TVR up. But for anybody who hasn't seen it, this is how it's happened. So Thursday morning, I decided to take it to work, which everybody in the UK will know that we've had a bit of a cold spell. It were -3 on the TVR clock, which probably doesn't mean much as most of the sensors never read the accurate readings. So I was joining the M18 motorway, which was morning rush hour traffic, so couldn't really get up much speed. The part where I join it also diverts to the M1 South, M1 North, so the traffic was quite heavy. So before everybody says run out of talent, can't drive, get in a slow car, the car was probably doing around 50 miles per hour. So I'd ended up into the lane that I needed to be, which was the right hand lane, the fast lane. I'd got to 50 mile an hour and I went through the gears, going from 5th to 6th, and literally as I went from 6th to 7th, the back end broke loose. With every will in the world trying to catch it, tried to save it, just didn't happen. Everyone will know when you're giving a car some stick and giving it some hammer, you tense up, you're ready for catching it, you're ready for it making errors, so you're literally waiting for it to do it. Because it was in morning traffic, I kind of feel like we're still in sleepy mode, where I was just going in a straight line at 50, and obviously all of a sudden when it breaks loose, it was too late. At first I thought I've hit some ice, which still might be the case. It was, like I say, it was really damp. It was -3 on the TVR clocks. Everybody when I got to work was saying that theirs was showing -5. But I was also taking the TVR into work to fix a problem which I put on my Instagram post probably a month before, just when it went for the exhaust building, which was the backlash in the differential. So differentials, which I'm going to explain in later on in the video, I'll show you how a differential works, how it should mesh into gears. But with TVRs, I've noticed after breaking quite a few of them that a lot of the diffs are all the same, where before you turn the front pinion wheel, the crown wheel doesn't make contact with it and it has too much of a gap. So if you let off, you notice a clunk. When you accelerate, you notice a clunk. And diffs, the teeth shouldn't mesh in that tight where it grinds them down, but it shouldn't be that loose where you're hearing bangs. Now, in normal TVRs in a manual car, because you're changing gear, it's probably not as noticeable because you're letting off the clutch a little bit slower, it's not changing gear as fast as the DCT. Whereas in this, when you was changing gear with the DCT and it'd whack into gear, it'd also then sound like the differential wanted to break free and be in the back of the car with you. So it was really, really harsh. So the only reason I was bringing the TVR in that morning was to sit it bang gear with a front end on, to drop the differential out, to put a new one in. The ratio also is probably not the best for this car, so the ratio at the minute is a 373. So 70 mile an hour I'm doing 3000 revs in 7th gear, which is not ideal. So the ratio, I was also going to change that, and then the prop shaft, which I think is also a contributing factor to what I found when I drained the oil out of the differential. So the night of the accident, I couldn't sleep. I just thought I'd hit some ice, but then my mind was racing, thinking if I were going 50 mile an hour in a straight line, even if I hit ice, it should have carried on momentum, it shouldn't have ever broke loose. So it made me think, did something lock up on the back end? There's something failed? There's a drive shaft dropped a ball bearing, there's a differential smashed the teeth, there's a prop shaft dropped one of the ball bearings or tightened up. So the next morning, I come in, drained the oil, found that basically there was metal fragments in the oil, which looks like part of 2 of the teeth in the differential. I've not took the diff out yet, which will be on a later video because I need to keep the differential in, and I'll show you why. But TVRs, for some daft reason, the differentials, to set the adjustment, the cups, they made them out of aluminium and then put them into a cast iron housing. Anybody who works with cars knows that when you've had aluminium next to steel, it fuses together, and 9 times out of 10 these cups that I need out of my diff for the differential I'm building, it's more than likely going to burr the threads and it's not going to come out right. So going back to the prop shaft, I also think the prop shaft has caused probably some of the damage in the differential as well. So it shouldn't have the backlash, which I'm going to show you the backlash in the differential on this one where it's too excessive. I'll then remove the diffuser, the exhaust, some of the under trays, and we'll have a look at the prop shaft. And the prop shaft I was also going to modify when I brought it in on Thursday, but basically I need to take a bit of length out of the prop shaft to add something in, which same again I'll show you later on in this video. But for now, we'll look at getting it up in the air. We'll have a look at removing some stuff. The damage, I know the damage looks quite bad, but if it was a metal car, it would have literally been a case of probably removing a bonnet, a bumper, a headlight, a front panel. The BMW iX3 I'm just repairing for my partner. That was a lot worse than this one. It's just with this being fiberglass, the full front end is fiberglass to the back end. It's not something I really do bodywork, so I'm going to probably sub it out to somebody else to sort of bodywork out for me. If it was a metal car, I promise everybody I'd have it done in a couple of weeks, but it is what it is, and I'll just basically get everything ready, I'm going to take the engine out just to make it a nicer job so I can do the inner wings where it's cracked, have all that repaired and make sure it's repaired to a high standard. There is quite a few bits I want to modify, which is some bits around here. There's a few little other bits on the front end I want to modify to overcool it, but I couldn't do that with the body on the car, so every cloud has a silver lining. I can literally get to the front end and start looking at making these upgrades, which same again I'll show you later on in the video, but for now we'll have a look at getting some bits off. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at getting the under tray off, the exhaust off, the rear diffuser off, and the heat shield in the centre. The main reason for this, I can show you what I mean by the backlash in the differential, and I can also get to the prop shaft and I'll show you what the plans are for the prop shaft and why it's probably contributed to the fact that there's bits of metal in the differential. Alright, let's get cracking. Right, so the sump seems undamaged. There is a bit of oil, but I suspect that is from when the oil rads have exploded, which is then, by the looks of it, thrown it backwards a little bit. You can see that it's got more oil towards the driver's side, which the driver's oil rad sat on. So, right, as long as that's not cracked and that's not damaged, that's a bonus. So we'll start removing some more bits. We're going to split the exhaust from this section, just because rather than take it from the front for the time being, I think I can still access the prop shaft by just taking the rear half off. So yeah, let's have a look. So now we've got to the point where you can get to the prop. We can see the prop shaft here. We can see that it's rotating freely. But now I'll show you the backlash and what we don't want, and you'll be able to hear the noise that it's making. Right. So here you can see the prop shaft. So the prop shaft here, I believe, may have caused a bit of an issue with the differential failing. The main reason for it is I've copied the TVR design but put it in reverse. So where the TVR design has this end, it goes into the T5 gearbox on splines that will slide backwards and forwards to give you any movement that you need as the diff is twisting, the engine's twisting. So I've done it in reverse by putting the BMW end at this end. This is like a ball bearing adapter. So this will allow the prop shaft to go backwards and forwards, up and down, whichever movement it needs. And then this end is the fixed end. So the main issue I think I've come across with this prop shaft setup is the gearboxes. It changes gear way too quick for a solid prop shaft. You can really tell when you're changing gears, and especially when you're letting out of gears with the backlash, it sounds like the differential's trying to escape. So originally I wanted to put a prop shaft donut up here like on a BMW, but because of the adapter plate, it'd interfere with the bolts. So other than putting a spacer in, I couldn't get my head around how to do it, which I've currently redesigned something that should work. So if I'd have put a rubber donut in, I just didn't want the flex of the prop shaft going up and down with it being on rubber. So I've had to make another adapter, which I'll show you later, but that's what's going to be going into the prop shaft to take the harshness out of the gear changes. But it'd have just been quite harsh in changing gears when you're aggressive with it. But the fact that the differential's got quite bad backlash, I think it's just magnified that problem and created it to basically fail. So I'm not saying that the accident was caused 100% by the diff, it's hard to say, but the fact that there's two bits of metal that come out of that. So when I've drained it there, you could see the two bits of metal. I've had a magnet in there and that's got loads of swarf on it. So I'm only guessing that the diff's done it. It might have been ice. So I'm just going to demonstrate now, obviously the noise just by hand. You can imagine, obviously, like I mentioned before, when the car so that's how far I can move it before the tyres actually engage and start turning. So I do think that is one of the causes. Obviously the solid prop shaft hasn't helped. So we'll go over and have a look at how I'm going to basically cure this and make it better. Right, so what we'll first have a look at is the brand new differential. I say brand new, it's ex-stock, that's just been sat about for quite a bit and never been fitted. So we'll have a look at the play that it should have and what is basically the best setup for these diffs. So as you can see, when I slightly start turning that front pinion, you can see that they're moving. If I do it harsh, backwards and forwards, there's no noise other than a bit of rust that you can hear grinding here. But that is basically perfectly set up. So what you have inside the differential is this pinion wheel, this crown wheel, and then you can see there's like a screw-in cap. They're the caps that I need out of my differential that's on the Cigaris already. The reason I'm leaving the diff in the Cigaris at the minute is they are going to be hard to take out. The aluminium will have oxidised to the steel. They will be tight. There's a good chance they're not going to come out and I'm going to have to buy new ones. but it's a lot easier with the differential being fitted in the car, so I can really swing on a ratchet to try and get them undone. So what them cups do is, as you wind them in and out, that will push the crown wheel in and out, and what you want it to do is perfectly sit into this gear. If you push it too far onto this gear, it's just going to wear it down and grind these two down. If you don't get it close enough to the gear and get the correct backlash, what you're going to get then is the clunking noise that we've got in the differential on the Sagaris already. So this one is also a 308 ratio diff, which should really help with like motorway driving, long distance driving with it. Instead of doing 70 at 3000 revs, it should be a lot better. It should be doing 70 at 1000 revs, or probably in 6 gear or something, but it's just going to be a lot better setup for it. So that's getting redone. It'll be getting shot blasted, new bearings as you can see here, the crown wheel and the pinion's brand new. So then the next issue we need to address is this one. So to get rid of having it solidly mounted, we're going to be fitting this. This is the rubber donut that will go to the back of the gearbox, but if I put the adapter plate straight to that, that's the issue that we've got. So I can't get a nut and a bolt into there to connect this to the gearbox. So this is where this spacer comes in. So I've roughly made this at minute so it's just covered in primer. Once I know it works, I'll take it back off and have it powder coated as long as it does work. So what this will do is this one's going to bolt onto the back of the gearbox. The spacer's then going to follow. So if we put the spacer there, and put that onto there then that gives me the space then for the nuts and bolts to fit into there. So it's not going to interfere with the adapter. The other nice thing with this is the spacer's also got, as you can see there, a centre spline, and that'll slide onto the back of the gearbox. That'll stop the rubber wanting to flex up and down, and it should keep it nice and steady, so that when you change gear, they'll have a bit of play, and it'll take that harshness out of every gear change, out of basically trying to smash this to bits. And it'll give it a more roadway, like, how can I put it? It'll make it feel a lot more like a production car. It'll be a lot smoother, nicer to drive. If it were a track car, I wouldn't be bothering with the rubber donut. I think I'd probably look at just taking care of the differential. But because I plan on using it as an everyday car, I do want that everyday feel. It's more, saying that it's an everyday car, I suppose that's probably one of the reasons why it's caught me out as well, because if there's anything I've learned from smashing it up is I probably should give it a bit more respect. I shouldn't have probably took it out in minus conditions, knowing it were a 500 and odd brake horsepower car that only weighs a ton, with no driving aids, no traction, no ABS, no airbags. I've got drawn in just because, other than the loud bang from the differential, when you've got it in the automatic mode of the DCT, it does feel like an everyday car. It feels like something you could go to shops in. It feels like it's basically not a race car, and it's probably one of the reasons why I've got caught out that morning. I don't know whether it's the diff that's locked up. It's obviously, the diff's not healthy for it to have 2 bits of metal in it. I can't 100% say it's a diff. I can't 100% say it's the ice, but something happened that morning. The stretch of motorway we're in, which I've had a few followers, saw the car, saw the crash. It's a nice straight motorway, we're in rush hour traffic. It's not like I could build speed up. It's not like I was going round a bend and lost it. It just broke, the back end broke away at 50 mile an hour. Either it's something or something locked up. But might as well, while it's in a million bits, look at sorting these issues out so that when the front end's back on, it's well sorted. I'll probably do another video next week, hopefully. We'll get the engine out, we'll have a look at the inner wings, see how badly damaged they are, see if I've caused any more damage, which, to be fair, I think it's just a case of all the rads on the front and the fiberglass that's the damage. There's a bit of wiring damage, but wiring don't concern me, it's an easy fix. So yeah, if you like what you've seen today and I haven't bored you too much with my monotone voice, subscribe, hit the like button, and let's have a look next week, see what it looks like with engine art. Thank you for viewing. Cheers.